Welcome to our deep dive. This time we're looking into early iron production,
Oh, very cool.
but not just anywhere.
Yeah.
This deep dive takes us to Herdorf in Germany.
Okay.
It might seem like an ordinary town at first glance,
Hmm.
but trust me,
All right.
it's sitting on a real archaeological treasure trove.
Oh, wow.
So to get into this,
Okay.
we're going to be looking at some academic articles and museum press releases
Oh, good.
that focus on the work of two amateur archaeologists,
Oh, cool.
the Kipping brothers.
Interesting.
And through this deep dive,
hmm
we really want to unearth the story of these forgotten researchers
Okay.
and understand why their discoveries in Herdorf
Yeah.
are actually rewriting the history of iron production in the region.
Wow.
And even more exciting,
Hmm.
we'll see what it means for understanding a much bigger picture of the early Iron Age in Europe.
Okay. Very exciting.
So who exactly were these Kipping brothers?
Well, we have Otto and Heribert Kipping.
Oh.
Two brothers from Herdorf. And here's the thing. They weren't professional archaeologists at all.
Oh, wow.
Otto worked at the post office,
Okay.
and Heribert was a teacher.
That's pretty cool,
Yeah.
like an Indiana Jones situation.
Yeah, exactly.
So what got them into archaeology then?
Well, their shared passion for their local history
Okay.
is what really led them on this incredible journey of discovery.
It makes you wonder how many people around the world have like amazing archaeological potential just sitting there.
Absolutely.
So they were obviously doing more than just casually enjoying their local history.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like what were they actually doing out in the field?
They spent decades meticulously excavating sites around Herdorf.
Wow, decades.
Yeah. Okay, so
And they documented everything
that's amazing.
with hand-drawn maps,
Wow.
photographs, and really detailed notes on the artifacts
Oh, wow.
that they were finding.
Like the full package.
Right.
Hand-drawn maps. That's so cool.
Yeah, I know. It's amazing to think about.
You can just imagine them hunched over the table.
With a candle.
Right.
So I'm curious, did their work get much attention back then?
It's a shame, really.
Ah.
But despite how good their research was and how important it was
Yeah.
was largely unknown outside of just their local community.
What a bummer.
Yeah.
I mean, so you're telling me all this amazing work,
Yeah.
the maps and artifacts and everything,
Yeah.
just sat there unnoticed for years.
Pretty much.
How did that happen?
I mean, how did it finally come to light?
Right.
It was kind of by chance.
Oh.
An architect named Karsten Trojan
Okay.
was working on a project at the local mining museum in Herdorf,
Hmm.
and he came across a reference
Okay.
to the Kipping brothers and their research.
Interesting.
So naturally, he was intrigued
yeah?
and started to dig a little deeper.
So he became like an archaeologist of archaeology?
Exactly.
That's
I
it.
love it.
It's a great way to put it.
And what did his quest lead to?
Well, his search led him to the Landschaftsmuseum Westerwald
Okay.
in Hockenberg,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where he found it.
Boxes and boxes
Way.
filled with the Kipping brothers' artifacts, photographs, and those maps.
What an incredible find.
It's really like something out of an Indiana Jones movie.
Yeah, I can't even imagine stumbling upon that.
Yeah.
So let's talk more about their discoveries.
Okay.
Why is Herdorf so important for understanding the Iron Age?
So we need to understand a bit about the region.
Okay.
Herdorf is located in the Rhineland-Palatinate region of Germany, and it's an area that's rich in iron ore deposits.
That makes sense then.
So it's not a huge surprise that it would have attracted early iron workers.
Right, but I've heard that the Kippings unearthed something
Yeah,
that really like shook up the timeline we had before.
exactly.
What was it?
They found evidence of iron smelting in Herdorf that
Uh,
dates all the way back to the 6th and 5th centuries BC.
Wow, that's so early.
Right?
Like, what does that mean for the existing timeline?
Oh, it pushes it back by at least a century.
Wow, a whole century.
Yeah.
So that means the Herdorf sites are the oldest evidence of iron production
Yeah,
in Rhineland-Palatinate.
in the whole region.
Wow. And what about in Germany?
I mean, it's some of the earliest in all of Germany.
That's huge.
Yeah.
So we're talking about a period when communities across Europe
Mm-hmm.
were really just starting to figure out ironworking.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
And that's what makes the Herdorf discovery so crucial,
Absolutely.
because they give us these super valuable insights
Yeah.
into the very beginnings of iron production in
Yeah.
this part of Europe.
Mm,
And that can even help us understand how those skills spread
yeah,
and how they developed over time.
exactly.
So it's not just about Herdorf.
No.
It's about fitting these findings into a much larger puzzle
Right.
of the Iron Age across Europe.
It's all connected.
Yeah. I'm really curious now
Yeah.
to know what kinds of things the Kippings actually found.
Okay.
Like, what clues did they uncover that led them to make these claims about early iron production?
Their collection has a really fascinating mix of artifacts,
Okay.
each one giving us a little peek
Yeah,
into the lives and activities of these early iron workers.
I like it.
So let's start with something a little unexpected.
Oh, okay. I like unexpected.
Ceramics.
Ceramics.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have immediately thought of pottery when talking about iron.
Right.
Like, how are they related?
Well, you might be surprised,
Okay.
but the specific types of pottery found at a site
Yeah.
can be key for dating it.
Okay. How?
So the Kippings found a bunch of different styles,
Okay.
like bowls with really specific rim designs
Mm-hmm.
to large storage jars.
Okay.
And this is really cool,
Yeah.
fingertip impressions still visible on the clay.
Whoa, that's awesome.
Well, you know, right?
Like, you can picture the person making it.
Exactly.
But, okay, how do those pottery styles tell us when a site dates to...
Think of them like fingerprints for a certain time period.
Oh.
Archaeologists have built up these chronologies
Yeah.
that are based on how pottery styles change.
Okay. So by looking at the types of ceramics in Herdorf,
Yeah.
we can link those sites to those broader trends in pottery.
Interesting.
And because of that, we get a much clearer sense of their age.
Whoa. So like each piece of broken pottery becomes a clue
Yeah.
that helps us piece together this whole timeline.
Exactly.
So cool.
It's really amazing.
So besides ceramics, what other clues did the Kippings find that point to iron production?
Did they find any actual iron-making structures?
Right, like furnaces.
Yeah, exactly.
Did they find any?
They did.
Wow, okay.
They found the remains of smelting furnaces,
Awesome.
but not the kind you might imagine today.
Okay, what were they like?
Simple shaft-like structures
Hmm.
that seem to have been built for one use only.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
Single use. So they'd build a furnace,
Uh-huh.
smelt the iron ore,
Yeah.
and then just break it open to get the iron.
Yep, pretty much.
Why not reuse it?
That's a question archaeologists are still working on.
Maybe it has something to do with the ore they used, the scale of their production, or even like cultural practices that we just don't get yet.
Oh, interesting.
But looking at these single-use furnaces gives us amazing insights into the technology and techniques used by those early iron workers.
Yeah, it must have taken so much ingenuity to figure out how to do this.
I know. It's incredible.
Using such simple methods.
Right.
I'm also curious about the iron itself.
Okay.
Like, did they find any finished objects or evidence of what they were making?
That brings us to one of their most exciting finds.
Ooh, what is it?
A remarkably well-preserved iron bloom.
An iron bloom.
Yeah.
What's that?
It's not a refined tool or a weapon or anything like that.
Okay.
It's essentially like a raw lump of iron that comes straight out of the smelting furnace. It's porous, kind of spongy looking.
Oh, wow.
And it's got impurities in it from the ore.
Okay.
So think of it like the raw material.
That blacksmiths would use to make tools and things?
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So this iron bloom is like a piece of the iron making process.
Yeah, you could say that.
That's so cool. I bet it's heavy too.
It is. It weighs over 3 kilograms.
Wow. 3 kilograms.
Imagine holding that.
Yeah.
This rough hunk of iron,
Yeah.
knowing that it was made by hand over 2,500 years ago.
That's incredible.
It really connects you to that time.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
all the work that went into it.
It's one thing to read about it in a book,
Right.
but to like hold it
Mm-hmm.
must be a totally different experience.
It's-
So we've got the ceramics
Yeah.
helping date the sites, furnaces showing us how they made the iron,
Right.
and this iron bloom representing the raw material itself.
Yeah.
But I'm curious,
Yeah.
because we know the Kippings were dedicated,
Mm-hmm.
but they weren't using like the most high-tech methods available to archaeologists today.
Exactly.
So like what can modern archaeology add to this? Well, their work was good for the time,
Yeah.
but there's always more to learn
Of course.
using those more modern techniques.
Right.
And that's where it gets really exciting.
Okay.
Because the Kippings discoveries have laid the foundation
Yeah.
for a whole new wave of research.
Yeah.
Using all this cutting-edge technology
Cool.
to unlock even more secrets from Herdorf's Iron Age past.
I'm excited to hear more about that.
Yeah.
But first, I think it'd be good to understand how these Herdorf discoveries fit into the broader Iron Age.
Okay.
Like, how do they change existing theories about this time period?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
Because it leads us to some really cool debates within Iron Age archaeology. So, for example, there's this theory that links the emergence of these really elaborate princely graves.
Princely graves?
Yeah.
What are those? They're these graves filled with, like, really luxurious goods and weapons.
Wow.
And they kind of point to this growing social hierarchy.
During the early Iron Age.
So these people had access to iron. This new valuable resource.
Right.
And that's how they got their power.
Yeah.
And they showed off that power in their burials.
Exact.
So the theory is that iron equals power.
Yeah, that's the basic idea.
But how does Herdorf fit into that?
That's where it gets interesting, because iron production here might actually be older
the graves
than some of those princely graves.
Wow.
Which suggests that ironworking might have been way more widespread and less controlled by elites than we thought before.
So it challenges that iron equals power idea.
Yeah, you could say that.
That's amazing.
Right.
Like one little town can totally change how we understand a whole period of history.
Absolutely.
And this is just one example of how Herdorf is making us reevaluate everything we know about the Iron Age.
It's amazing, isn't it?
It makes you want to go grab a shovel and head out to Herdorf.
I know, me too.
But before we get too carried away, let's take a minute to really appreciate what the Kipping brothers did.
Okay.
They weren't academics.
Yeah.
They didn't have fancy degrees.
Right.
But their passion led to discoveries that are now reshaping how we view a super crucial part of European history.
It really is amazing.
A powerful reminder that anyone with enough curiosity and persistence can contribute to knowledge.
To make a real difference.
It's the spirit of archaeology.
It really is.
And speaking of archaeology, we've only just started to look at what modern techniques can reveal about Herdorf's Iron Age past.
Right.
When we come back, we'll dig into how scientists are building on the Kipping's work.
Okay.
Using these cutting-edge tools to uncover even more secrets.
Very cool.
From this amazing site.
I can't wait.
Stay tuned. Welcome back to our deep dive into the Iron Age world of Herdorf.
It's great to be back.
Before the break, we were talking about how the Kipping brothers' work really just scratched the surface. I'm so excited to talk about what modern archaeology can add to the story.
It's really remarkable what technology can do now.
Yeah, like what?
Like imagine seeing beneath the ground without even digging.
Okay, that sounds like science fiction.
I know, right?
How's that even possible?
It's a technique called geophysical survey.
Okay.
Archaeologists use radar and other sensors to create these images of what's buried underground.
Like everything.
I mean, building foundations, ancient pits, even those single-use furnaces we talked about.
It's like having X-ray vision.
Exactly.
But for the Earth.
Yay. It's incredible.
That must totally change how archaeologists approach a site.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It lets them be so much more targeted and efficient with their excavations.
So they can focus on the areas
where
they're most likely to find something.
Right.
Without having to dig up a whole huge area.
And it also helps them minimize the disturbance of the surrounding environment.
That's really important.
Yeah, it's all about working smarter, not harder, and preserving these sites for future generations.
I like that a lot.
It's crucial.
So are there other high-tech methods being used to unlock more of Herdorf's secrets?
There's this other really exciting area, metal analysis.
Metal analysis.
So they analyze the chemical composition of iron artifacts, and they can actually trace where the ore came from.
Wait, really?
Like a fingerprint.
So you're telling me they can take a piece of iron from Herdorf and tell me exactly which mine it came from?
Pretty much.
That is mind-blowing.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. So what can that tell us about the bigger picture of the Iron Age?
It helps us map out those ancient trade routes.
Cool.
And understand all these complex economic networks that connected different communities across Europe.
So it was more than just like people in their own little villages.
Right.
They were trading and interacting with other groups.
Absolutely.
That's fascinating.
And it makes you wonder, did the iron from Herdorf stay local?
Yeah.
Or did it travel across huge distances?
That's what researchers are trying to figure out now using this analysis.
Exactly.
It's like a giant jigsaw puzzle where each piece of chemical analysis gives us a new clue.
Yeah.
About how everything was connected back then.
Are there any specific sites in and around Herdorf where these techniques are being used?
There are a few key sites
Okay.
that really show
Yeah.
both the challenges and the potential of modern archaeology in Herdorf.
I'd love to hear about them.
Okay, so first there's Mahlscheid,
Mahlscheid.
which is a hill south of Herdorf.
Okay.
This is where the Kippings did a lot of their work.
I remember they talked about those Waldschmieds.
Yes, the forest smithies.
And they even recreated them for their film.
I know.
Feuer über Hohenseelbach.
That's right. But I heard that only fragments of those reconstructions remain.
Yeah. Sadly, that's true.
That's why these modern methods are so important, right?
Absolutely.
They can help us fill in the gaps.
Exactly.
So what have they found at Mahlscheid?
Well, recent surveys
Yeah.
using things like aerial photography and LiDAR scanning.
What's that?
It uses lasers
Oh, cool.
to create a really detailed 3D map of the terrain.
So you can see every little bump and dip.
Yeah, and it lets us see tiny variations that might show where people were active in the past.
So it's like there's a whole hidden landscape
Yeah.
just waiting to be uncovered.
And what's even more interesting, it suggests that iron production there
At Mahlscheid?
was way more extensive
Than we thought.
based on the Kipping's work.
So it wasn't just a few small workshops.
Right. It might have been a huge center of industry.
Wow. That's incredible. Like a whole industrial complex just hiding under the trees.
It's amazing what's out there.
It makes you wonder what else we might find.
Yeah.
I know the Kippings also investigated a place called Hohensingelbackskoff.
They did.
What's special about that site?
It's really intriguing.
Okay.
So Hohensilbackskoff was this giant basalt peak
Wow.
that overlooked Herdorf.
Okay.
And based on local stories,
Yeah.
the Kippings thought it was the site of a big hill fort.
A hill fort.
Yeah, a fortified settlement.
Okay. That makes sense.
You know, hilltops offer natural protection.
Yeah, like a natural fortress.
Exactly.
But I'm guessing things didn't go as planned.
Unfortunately, no.
Oh, what happened?
In the 19th century,
Oh,
they quarried the entire peak
what for?
for its basalt,
Oh, no.
which was really valuable.
So they basically destroyed the site.
Yeah,
Yeah,
essentially.
That's so sad.
It's a reminder that progress
Yeah.
can sometimes have these unintended consequences for understanding our past.
Is there any way to learn about this lost settlement?
Well, the Kippings were thorough. They excavated in the debris piles.
The debris pile.
Yeah, that were left over from the quarrying.
Oh, wow.
And they did find some ceramic pieces,
Okay.
but not enough to really say anything for sure about the hill fort.
It's like trying to find a needle in a haystack.
But a very rocky haystack.
Right, but you're saying
Mm-hmm.
that even those debris piles might still have clues.
Exactly.
It's so cool.
With modern techniques,
Yeah.
like soil analysis
Yeah.
and microscopic examination of the sediment,
Hmm.
researchers might be able to get more information
Wow.
than was possible back then.
That's amazing.
Imagine finding tiny charcoal pieces
Yeah.
or pollen grains
Oh,
hidden in the rubble.
what would those tell us?
They could give us evidence of the plants that were there,
Okay.
metalworking activities,
Wow.
even the types of food they ate.
That's incredible.
It's like forensic science,
Yeah.
but for the distant past.
And it wouldn't just tell us about the settlement,
Right.
but about the whole environment around it
Yeah, exactly.
and how they use the resources
It's amazing how much we can learn.
from just tiny little
I
traces.
know, it's really incredible.
Even when something seems completely lost,
Yeah.
there's still hope for finding out more.
And that's the amazing thing about archaeology.
Yeah.
It's about piecing together the past
Mhm.
from all sorts of sources.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're fragmentary,
Okay.
sometimes they're unexpected.
And what's really cool is that
Yeah.
the Kipping brothers' work,
Mm-hmm.
even though it focused on these specific sites,
Yeah.
it's had this ripple effect on the whole region.
It really has.
So their discoveries have sparked this wider interest
Mm-hmm.
in the early Iron Age in Rhineland-Palatinate.
Exactly. Archaeologists are going back to other sites now,
Cool.
armed with all these advanced techniques,
Awesome.
looking for more pieces of the puzzle.
So the Kipping's legacy isn't just about their findings.
No.
It's also about inspiring a new generation of researchers to look at this period in a new way.
Absolutely.
And it's a reminder that sometimes the most important discoveries
Yeah.
aren't just about finding objects.
Right.
They're about opening up these new ways of thinking
Mm-hmm.
and inspiring others to keep exploring.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
It's about curiosity, observation, and good record keeping.
Yeah, even without the fanciest tools.
You can still make amazing discoveries.
Absolutely.
I love that.
Me too.
Wow, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
Oh, yeah.
From like dusty old archives to high-tech labs.
That's amazing, isn't it?
And it's all thanks to the Kipping brothers' passion for history.
It really is.
It's remarkable how their work, which was initially overlooked, has become like this catalyst for all this new research.
Exactly.
It's fundamentally changing how we see the Iron Age.
In this part of Europe.
It's really cool, like this idea that big discoveries can come from unexpected places.
Absolutely.
And sometimes you just need a fresh set of eyes. So what are some of the key takeaways you hope our listeners will remember from this exploration?
So I think the biggest one is that the story of iron in Europe is way more complex than we used to think. Like the Herdorf discoveries, they challenge the simple idea of iron equals power. It suggests that early iron production was more widespread and maybe less hierarchical than traditional theories say.
That's a great point. It really shows how important it is to question what we know about the past. Because new evidence can always come up. And change everything.
And it opens up these new avenues of research.
What's fascinating to me is the Herdorf findings. They don't just challenge old theories, but they also raise new questions.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
About the early Iron Age.
Absolutely.
About their social dynamics, their economic systems, and their technology.
Exactly.
So if iron wasn't so tightly controlled by elites.
What else caused these hierarchies to develop?
And what about those princely graves? Like, were they really all about iron?
That's the question. Maybe we need to look at other things.
Like what?
Maybe control of different resources, trade networks, or even like symbolic power.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's really fascinating.
So archaeology is more than just digging up stuff.
It's about using those artifacts as clues to figure out what happened in the past.
But to understand all these complex things that shaped human societies.
It's like a big puzzle.
It really is like detective work.
Absolutely.
I love it.
Me too.
So the investigation in Herdorf continues.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, thanks to those modern techniques, it seems like Herdorf is going to reveal even more secrets.
I think so.
In the future.
New
New excavations, combined with all these advanced analyses,
that's exciting,
will help us learn even more.
About their lives, their practices, and all their connections.
And the implications are huge.
They
They go way beyond just Herdorf.
Right.
I mean, the Kipping's work has sparked
Yeah.
all this new interest in the early Iron Age all across the region.
Exactly.
And it's led to new research.
Yeah.
And a better understanding of this period.
It's really amazing.
It makes you wonder what other ordinary places are out there.
Yeah.
Just waiting to tell their stories.
What other Herdorfs are there?
That's a great question.
I don't know, but it's exciting to think about.
Maybe there's a forgotten collection.
Yeah.
In a local museum somewhere.
Or an unusual thing in your backyard.
Or even like a random historical reference. That could lead to an amazing discovery.
Yeah, you never know.
That's the coolest part.
Right.
History is all around us.
It is.
Just waiting to be uncovered.
And the Kipping brothers story shows us that anyone can make a difference. It doesn't matter what your background is or your job.
It's about being curious and asking questions.
And never giving up.
So to all our listeners, we challenge you to embrace your inner archaeologist.
Go explore your local history.
Yeah, visit a museum.
Or just look around you.
You never know what you might find.
That's right.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
Into the world of Herdorf.
Yeah.
We hope you've enjoyed it.
Me too.
Yeah.